So I've been using my FT3D for about a month now, and I figured it's a time for a review where I can talk about what I like about the radio, some of the specifications, and some of the nuances and oddities and quirks that I found about the radio that I might like to share with other people. So to get this first thing out of the way, I'm going to talk about the specs, and I have some of them on the screen here. The frequency range is roughly 0.5 megahertz to 1 gigahertz. There are some gaps in there, especially for the cellular bands, because it's illegal for radios to have radios in the U.S. that have those frequencies available to listen on. There's also different modes that are available for each band, so I'll provide a link down below with some more detailed specifics of what you can listen to and what frequency in that range. It also comes with a 700 milliwatt speaker. So this is one thing when I was looking at reviews earlier that kind of put me off, because people kept saying that it's a quiet speaker. And in relation to many other radios at the same price, it is a much quieter speaker. However, I don't typically use my radios at full volume blasting the sound. Maybe if you're in a very populated environment, if you're doing an event, a louder speaker might come in handy. But for my use, for hiking, this run-of-the-day mill stuff, I never need a very loud speaker at all. So it's got a pretty good. Actually, we can turn it on and check it out here. So here's the radio, and I'm just going to put this guy here on a NOAA weather channel. So I know this isn't going to be a very good test because this is a video, but I'll try to talk over it for a second just to give you, I guess, a relation to how loud it is compared to my voice right now. So this is a pretty good radio. The speaker is pretty loud, and this is just really, I'm just testing to see how loud the speaker is in comparison to my voice. But as you can hear, the speaker is quite loud. In any day scenario, it's going to be anything that you need. So the radio also comes with a micro SD card slot, so it allows you to store your radio's information on that card. You can transfer it between radios, I think between the FT2D and the FT3D. You might have to convert it on the computer. You can also take the SD card out, pop it in your computer, program the SD card, and then pop it in your radio and program your radio that way. It also comes with a 2200 milliamp battery. The battery on this thing is phenomenal. It lasts a long time. And that's one thing I did see on the previous reviews too before I bought my radio. The battery in this thing, and not just the size of the battery really, it's the efficiency of the radio consuming it. I can easily go 2 days really using this radio on a full charge. It's an awesome battery. If they did anything right, it's the battery on this thing. It also has a IPX5 waterproof rating. That doesn't mean that you can drop it and submerge it in water for long periods of time, but it does have these covers here on the radio, which will cover up many of the ports and make everything much safer. So if you were to drop it into water, if you quickly get it out, more than likely the radio is going to be fine. So that is a nice little feature to have, especially if you do outdoorsy things in the rain and stuff like that. It should be pretty good against rain. Another good feature of this radio is the Simultaneous Receive. It can actually receive 2 different frequencies at once, and that's not like the mode on the FT100 and 400 where it switches over and checks another frequency and jumps back. It actually has 2 receivers that receive both of those channels at once, so you can actually listen to 2 of them at once if you would want to do that. One of my favorite features of this radio, and I'll show you all just for a moment, is the band scope of the radio. This right here is the band scope of the radio. And what's really cool here is you can twist this knob and actually in real time see the radio spectrum. These little humps are the NOAA weather. See, as you can hear. So that is a really cool feature, and you can do different adjustments on that and make different changes to the channels and move them around and make it more defined and less defined. So just like a HF radio with a spectrum waterfall, you have technically, you don't have the whole waterfall on here, but you do have a scope that allows you to see where signals are. So that is a very handy feature to have. really super cool, and it's one of the big reasons I bought this radio. Not including it has a built-in GPS, which brings me to the next function here. We have APRS. APRS is super awesome. The only thing is you can't use the TNC in this thing. It's locked down, so you can't connect this to a computer to use it for packet radio. Using the built-in TNC on the radio, it just won't work like that. It has 1,256 memory channels, which is pretty insane. That's quite a bit of memory for a radio, and you probably will never use that much. But overall, the look of the radio is super sleek. At first I was kind of put off by just the shortness of it, and without the keypad it looked really off to me. It was super hard to get used to, but after I played around with it for a moment, I learned that I really like the design of this radio. I really like the way it feels in my hand. It's got a good weight to it. It does have a good grip, and it's a little shorter, I think, but it is a really good radio. So some of the nuances of this radio, some of the little quirks that aren't as delightful. It takes forever to charge unless you have the standalone battery charger, which that Yaesu sells. You pop this thing in, it's got a little charging dock that you put it in, but it could last, what I find, up to 10 hours sometimes just charging the radio from a dead battery, which is insane. So it does take a very long time to charge. That does come with the very extended battery life I was talking about before, so that is a super cool thing about this radio. But it does take forever to charge. Another thing is the programming. The radio came with a cable that was used to upgrade the firmware, but not program the radio. So to program the radio, you actually need to buy another device, another cable, special cable from Yaesu that's either, I think it's 60 bucks, or you have to use an SD card. So SD card, I made that video last week if you're interested in programming the radio with an SD card. It does add a little bit of money onto it, but it is very useful to have that to be able to pop in and out. Another feature of the radio is Bluetooth. So you can actually only connect this to some Bluetooth headsets, and you can actually use push-to-talk on those headsets. It's usually toggle. You either hit your play button on the headset and it toggles the transmission, and then you hit your play button again and it stops it. I haven't really found a use for that yet, but that feature is there. It's not compatible with a ton of the headset. There's a select few, but as of right now, with this current firmware update, that is really the only Bluetooth functionality that you can get out of this thing. But if you're worried about the loudness of the speaker and you have a nice Bluetooth headset, it could be a pretty cool feature to have. Another neat feature that this radio is pretty much branded on is C4FM and Wires X. So if you're not aware, real quick, C4FM is a digital radio mode similar to DMR. It's a packet based radio voice communication, so either you get a transmission or you don't, or sometimes you can lose packets and it gets a little blocky. But this actually has Wires X on it, which is Yaesu's internet linking systems for C4FM. So if you have a Wires X enabled repeater nearby, or you have a hotspot like I do, you can link these things over RF through the internet, connect to different chat rooms around the world, and talk to people over your radio. Is this real ham radio? Probably not. That's up for debate. There's a lot of people that go back and forth about the validity and the usefulness of it, but you do have that feature there if you will like it. Overall, this radio is super cool. It's really handy. It feels very sturdy. I haven't put that to the test yet, and I don't think I will. At $350 at HRO right now, it's not a bad buy. I still wouldn't throw it down on the ground to test its durability though. But overall, it's a pretty good radio. Seems pretty durable. It comes with a decent antenna. I measured the SWR on it. It seems to be pretty close to 1-to-1. One more quirk I would like to mention is the receive quality really relies on human interaction. What I mean by that is I have a local repeater in my area. I set my Baofeng here on my table and I can listen to it. This guy doesn't sound nearly as good if I just set it down and try to listen to that repeater unless I pick it up. So that might have something to do with just the antenna design. I've swapped out a few antennas and it seems to be like that across the board. That's probably the biggest quirk I have with this radio. I'm sure there's something I can do about it, but the receive quality isn't as good unless you're touching it. I don't know if it could be a defect. If somebody knows, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. But overall, I'm liking this radio pretty well, and it's got a ton of useful features, and I'm sure I'll discover more about it. And at the current sale that's going on in HRO, I really recommend it to anybody if they're looking to get a new 2 meter or 70 centimeter radio. So that'll be it for this video. I want to thank everybody for watching, and kind of keep it short and simple for those that may be looking to buy this radio. It's I really recommend it. I like it, and if you're into the touchscreen thing, this might be for you. But 73 to everybody, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.